Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Artistic Expression Podcast. I'm your host, Bonita Johnson. We have a very special guest tonight. Terraine Francois is born and raised in North Carolina, and he has numerous accomplishments. Terraine is a published author. He has published 4 books. I'm at All is a poetry book he wrote commemorating love. Terraine has also authored 3 children's books entitled Terraine's First Day of School, Terraine and the New Kid, and I Can Exercise. Terraine Francois is also a filmmaker, director, and writer. He has directed films like Amid Chaos, Where's Jackie, Home, 5 Minutes from Home, The Bonita Johnson Story, and My Child Before Me, written by Rosalind Day-Patterson. A few months ago, Terraine created a podcast entitled The Artistic Expression Podcast. His podcast highlights individuals that are part of the performing arts. During the first season, Terraine's guests consisted of a comedian, actors, writers, directors, and a theater arts teacher. Say hello to Terraine Francois.
Hello, everyone.
How are you, Terraine?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
I am. Terraine, you have a tradition on your show where a quote is read and explained by your guest. Are you ready for your quote?
Yes, I am.
It goes like this. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop, by Confucius. What is this quote saying to you?
I think the worst thing a person could ever do is compare themselves to another individual. You are uniquely you. And with that being said, I think some people don't recognize, some people can go really, really fast, right? And then there's some people that go slow, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the information that you need. I'm not the fastest person, but when I get it, I got it. And so with that being said, go at the pace that's comfortable for you and not the pace that's comfortable for someone else.
That sounds amazing. You said some powerful things. 1, don't compare yourself to other people. And 2, go at the pace that is comfortable to you. Can you expound upon those things?
Well, for one, when I try to go at a faster pace that's not comfortable for me, I find myself messing up repeatedly. But if I take the time to pause and take the time to go at a pace that's comfortable for me, I'm okay. I'm okay as long as I go at my own pace. And I think other people need to do the same thing.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. You go at your own pace. I agree. Can you tell the audience what inspired you to start a podcast?
Well, the area that I live at, it's a wonderful place. And basically, it's either sports or politics. I respect both areas and it's needed, but there are some people that fall in between and they don't feel like they could do any of those things. So I think the arts is not recognized enough, and so I want to bring highlights to that area because there are some people that are comedians, actors, dancers, models, different things of that nature, and I think their story need to be heard as well.
I love what you said. You said in your area there are typically people who are interested in sports and politics, and you stated that there are people there that's in between, and you wanted to highlight the arts. and you wanted to shed light on those individuals and allow their voices to be heard. How important is that for you to give people space to allow them to have their own voice and to allow them to have their voices heard? How important is that?
That's extremely important to me. If you ever listen to my show, I never talk about myself. I always put all the attention on my guests. And the reason why I do that, because I listen to a lot of people that do great interviews, but I notice they cut them off a lot, and they really take them away from what they were really talking about in the first place. I want people to get to know those individuals. My guests know who I am, and I want them to know who the person is that I'm interviewing. So that's important to me.
I like that. I like that. Very, very selfless. I like that. Speaking of selfless, what motivates you to keep going with your craft?
Well, I want to be the best in the world. I think a lot of times we kind of dumb ourselves down a lot of times, but I believe the greater one lives inside of me, so I think greatness should come out of me as well. So that inspires me to get better and better at what I do. Repetition is everything. And I think a lot of times people think they're supposed to get it the first and second and third try, but that's not the case. It's over and over again. And then that way you can critique yourself, go back over it again, make sure that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and you'll become better automatically. Because a lot of times people are lazy. I'm going to say lazy, and they're not willing to put in the work. So I want to put the work in. I don't want my dreams to go to the graveyard. I want my dreams to be fulfilled, whatever was placed inside of me. I want it to be fulfilled, and I want to give people my very best, and it'll please me, and it'll please the people that I serve, and it'll please God.
So I have heard you mention one pleasing God and the greater one living inside of you, which both are very spiritual. How important is your faith to you, especially when it comes to your future and what you're doing in filmmaking and producing and directing and creating your novels? How important is your faith to you?
My faith is very important to me. The reason being, I had a humble beginning. I know what it's like to be without. I know what it's like to not have the things that you would like to have. My faith is so important because without God, none of this will be impossible. Will not be possible at all. And then the other part is, I believe you can be creative in different ways. Like, I don't use profanity. I don't talk about sexual content. I think that's for the bedroom for married people. I don't think that's a conversation you should really just be talking about randomly anyway. So at the end of the day, I want to please God because he's the one that's making it all possible, meaning you see me, but it's the grace of God working inside of me that's making me to do what I can do, because you talking to a person that used to be really shy. I was very shy. I didn't feel good about myself. I had low self-esteem. But then God touched my heart, and then I started believing in who he made. And when he made me, he didn't make trash. He made something good. And so I have to believe that, and I have to do that.
So I would say that is speaking to a whole lot of people. You went from being shy to being a podcast host, director, producer. And you stated what brought you out of your shyness is learning your identity in God.
I would say yes, for sure. And then learning myself. People that's critical, they're not on the grind. People that's doing what they on their purpose, they don't have time for nonsense. They're too focused on what they're doing, and you don't have time for anything else. The trivia stuff.
I know that's right. You also talked about repetition and just keep going and doing it over and over again. So that means a lot of times that means you have to fail and you learn from your failure. Have you failed at anything? And if so, what have you learned from failure when it comes to especially filmmaking, writing, producing, starting a podcast?
I'm glad you asked that question. I have failed so many times. I've given up so many times. There's been times where I wouldn't touch it again for months or even years. But the thing is, I realize I'm only hurting myself. And the other part is take a break, but don't let it be a permanent break. You know what I mean? And so one of my favorite quotes says, mistakes are proof that you tried. And my goal is I understand that if you're going to be successful, you're going to fail numerous times. I've heard all the greats say this. Every person that I study, that I listen to attentively and actively, this is what they talk about. You have to fail. And I think Mark Cuban from Dallas Mavericks, the owner, he says that you only have to get it right one time. And so that means there's several attempts. What if Thomas Edison had given up on his dream? What if Alexander Bell had given up on their dream? We wouldn't have electricity and we wouldn't have a telephone. So they failed 10,000 times, but they only had to get it right one time. And so that's what I believe.
I understand, yes. And I want to ask you this. What is one thing that you want people to remember you by or remember about you?
The number one thing is not films, is not books, is not any of my accomplishments, but that I'm a servant. I'm a servant and that I have empathy for people. I want to serve people. I believe that you can make the world a better place. Some people say they're giving up on the world, but I believe I can make the world a better place. I believe you can make the world a better place.
I agree with you, and I want to ask you, can you expound upon what to you is a servant, and how can we make the world a better place?
Well, I think a true servant is not trying to seek attention all of the time. I think a servant highlights other people without mentioning themselves all the time. Now, sometimes you have to talk about what you do in order to promote what you're doing, but you don't have to talk about yourself all the time. Why not let somebody else get the shine? Why not let someone else get the spotlight? Why not make it all about them? Because I heard a quote a while back. It says, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. So at the end of the day, God gets the glory, of course, but you never know. That person might have low self-esteem, but your encouraging words, you becoming small just for a moment to make someone else look large, that's a servant to me.
Yeah. So I would say maybe one of the ways you make the world a better place is by you giving those encouraging words and giving this platform to people. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. Because like I said, at the beginning of every interview, I tell them about me before I push record. And then I tell them, okay, this interview is all about you, not me. So I never, even when I can relate to some of the things they've done, I still try to make it all about them. We can talk after the podcast, but I want everybody to know more about you, because I feel like that person is an amazing person, and more people need to hear what they have to say.
So you said we all can make the world a better place, and I just want to piggyback on that, okay? I know that you are a writer. I know that you are a director. I know that you are a filmmaker. But you are also making the world a better place through education. And I think that, I wonder if that ties into the reason that you write children's novels. But can you tell us about how you're making the world a better place through education, and what persuaded you to write children's novels?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The last time I saw my father was when I was 2 years old. And the thing is, nothing but love and respect for my father. But the thing is, I was struggling through school because I wanted to see him so badly. And people thought I was okay, but I really was suffering on the inside, and I didn't know why I was suffering. I had that need. And so when I got into the school system, I was thinking, I said, I wish I had someone to talk to, somebody would take me under their wing. And I had some good educators, but no one actually saw what I was dealing with. And I wasn't that type of person that felt comfortable talking to people at that time. I was shy, like I said earlier. So Gandhi made a huge statement. He says, be the change you want to see in the world today. So when I work with children in the school system, this is what I say. Be that person that you wanted when you were in school. And so when I see a child suffering, I'm going out of the way to try to help them, because I remember how it was when I was suffering, and I don't want anyone to ever feel that way again. So just like customer service, go beyond what you're asked to do. See the need, help that person. And so to add to what you had asked me earlier about children's books, so many different dynamics. So Terraine's first day of school, a lot of times fathers are put in a negative light. So I want to show people that there are some fathers, he was a single parent, there are some fathers that's reaching out to their children. Now, some of them are bad, but just like there's some bad mothers, misunderstood, I guess. So I want the people to see an African-American father taking care of his African-American son and consoling him when he was nervous. And the Terraine and the new kid, bullying is very prevalent. So I want them to see that bullies are victims as well, even though it's mean what they're doing, but they're doing it for a reason. And then I Can Exercise. That's a book about promoting positive affirmation. I can do jumping jacks. I can do pull-ups, just to get kids to get outside and be active again. So those things, they do tie together. And if you ever notice with my books, it's not an all-black book. It's all races of people, because we all need help and we all need each other. And so those are the things that I try to do to inspire people through the school and through the books.
Yes. And you spoke about you spoke about some amazing things, being the change you want to see, wishing you had someone to talk to in school, and now you're giving people the platform to allow them to talk to you. So amazing. And you spoke about affirmations in your novel, I Can Exercise. Can you tell me how important positive words and affirmations are to you?
Well, we live in a world of negativity a lot of times, and most people have enough people putting them down. So sometimes you got to speak life over yourself. And with that being said, so maybe parent call it child a dummy. So that's embedded inside of them. So start saying good things about yourself. I am intelligent. I am smart. I am a warrior. I am a survivor. Those things are important, because I believe if you say it, I know for me, for instance, there are some things that I said to myself, and some people say, well, that's a lie. No, I said it enough times until I started believing it. So a lot of times with the affirmation, you don't believe those things right away, and it may seem like a lie to you. But if you say it enough, you'll start believing it, and you'll become that person that you say you are.
If you say it so often, you will become it. Amazing. So there are thousands of people listening to this podcast. we are coming to our final question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You talked about failure and not giving up and taking a break. You talked about at many points in your life where you put it down and you picked it back up. If there was someone listening who wanted to give up on their dreams, or they felt like it's just too late, what would you tell them?
Well, this is what I would say to you, audience. Don't die until you fulfill your dreams. And I'm going to tell you what I mean there. I have goals. I refuse to die until I fulfill the purpose that was put inside of me. And how do I do that? Well, for one, you have to surround yourself with the right people. So many times we are connected to people that's not serving us well, but we hold on to it. Am I judging you? No, because I've done it for years. But it seems like when I let that person go, those people go, it felt like I was a butterfly. It felt like I was flying above everyone, like an eagle, up top of the mountain. And so you have to get rid of the dead weight. And also, you have to stay away from people that's diminishing what you're trying to do. If they say you can't do it, dismiss them. Still love them, but don't allow them to be in your circle. Be persistent as well. Just like the tortoise, he was slow. And a lot of times you'll have a tortoise experience. But if I live close to a city called Fayetteville, and I can walk there, it's like 20-something miles. How do I get there? One step at a time. It's not required that you take 20 steps at a time. It's required that you take one step at a time. And then one of the things I've also done is have a success journal. Write down things that you have accomplished. And as you continue to write those things down, go back and look at them. Go back and look at those things. Look at your progress. See if you're making progress. This is what I truly believe. I believe that if you make one step and you make another step, you are bound to get to where you're going, no matter what anyone else says. And again, I say this again. I refuse to die till I fulfill the purpose that was put inside of me. I would not have a bunch of dreams in my grave. I'm going to fulfill everything that God put inside of me. Nobody's going to stop me. The only one who can stop me is myself. How do I stop myself? Still associating with people that's putting me down, keeping those toxic people in my corner, not putting the work in. You got to put the work in. You have to do it. It's not just going to happen. You're not going to tap your feet 3 times and you're going to be in Kansas. No, you can't be lazy. And so those are the things I think we ought to do. So if you really want to get there, you can get there. Who said it had to be fast? Who said it had to be easy? And I think that's what's wrong in our world today. It's a microwavable world. We want it easy and we want it quick. No, pace yourself. Keep going. Keep grinding. You can do anything you want to do, but you just got to keep going. You got to believe it, and you have to focus on your strengths. So many times we focus on where we're weak at. And I'm not saying don't work on your weakness, but I will say this. If you have 2 strengths, if you double and triple down on those strengths, quadruple down on those strengths, and get better and better in those areas, there's no way in the world you can fail.
Amazing. Well, everyone, you heard it here from the amazing Terraine Francois. I call him a wordsmith. He's a published author, producer, director, and more. I also call him the male Maya Angelou because if you listen to him, you will be inspired. You heard it here. Don't die until you fulfill your dreams. Thank you for listening to a special edition of the Artistic Expression Podcast. As always, take care. Thank you.